Hello, and we are live. It is a fantastic win in the cup with an incredible 3-0 on penalties victory over the mighty Walsall of League Two. I tell you what, Neil, that's two League Two opponents we've played this season, and it's two League Two opponents dispatched, and none of them have scored a goal. We've shown that league who's boss. It's Leicester.
Danny Ward's found his level. He's bossing it. Again, no goals conceded over there as well. So yeah, on to the final.
Yeah, we've got 9 people coming right now. You guys are champions to come in after a game like that. Just to show you how bad this game was, not lying. Here are some instructions for a table. You can see it here on the side. I literally just broke open the box. I was going to do it tomorrow morning. And I thought, you know what? It'll be more constructive, literally, if I start making this table than watch that game. That was a dire game. Let me just run through the story of the game. So look, we won the possession war, so that's all that matters, right? 74% possession, 2 big chances each, which we'll come to. We had 9 shots to their 7. They actually had more corners than us, says it all. We outpassed them by about 3-1, and we had more tackles. But I don't really think these stats sort of really show that we couldn't find XG. If anyone can find XG, I'd love you to put it in there because I think we look like scoring in a month of Sundays there. And taking a look at the match ratings, if you even believe these, I mean, this can't be right because I feel like Buonanotte was easily our best player. So, do you know what? I'm not even going to get to that. Let's just go to the game itself. So, you tell me what's on your mind right now, Neil.
Oh, it's hard to know where to start because I think I was just telling you that I was having dinner a little bit late, and then I thought, do you know what? I'm going to try and finish this so I'm ready for the football match. So do you know what? I'm going to take my time and finish my dinner a little bit later. Came back at 60 minutes and nothing.
Edward Russian, best comment so far. Steve Cooper tried to assemble a flat back table, but he got stuck at the bottom of it. Horrendous. Sorry to cut you off now. Well, I'll tell you what, right? Let's start with the lineup. So Ricardo was back in the team, and this is the team that we started with. So Danny Ward in goal. Luke Thomas as the attacking fullback. I've got a lot to say about that. A left back. Coley keeps his place. No Vestergaard at all in the entire squad. We'll ask you about that in a minute because there's a lot of rumours coming out right now. Connor Cody in the starting lineup. Ricardo Pereira back as captain, as the right centre-back, but didn't really push up too much. We had the incredibly creative double pivot of Boubakary Samare and Hamza Chowdhury, which, if you ask me, could be one of the reasons why we struggled so much. Facundo Buonanotte played as a 10. Bobby de Cordova-Reid came in. Fatawu started, and he started on the right-hand side. A lot of people thought he might start on the left, but at least Cooper wasn't that mad. And Odson Edouard started for the first time for Leicester up front. So it was a 4-2-3-1. What did you make of that lineup?
When I looked at it, I went, fair enough. The only one that didn't make sense to me today, I agree. So I wouldn't say it was Dyer. He just looked, I think a lot of fans, including myself, just have a lot of, they don't really have a lot at the moment. It just reminded me of it. It was a bit slow, laborious. And every time when the game, as it went on, it looked like Walsall were building into the game, being more direct and actually creating more of an attacking threat. In terms of the lineup, I don't mind it. There's some players that I know, like Luke Thomas. We'll probably get into individual performance, but as a lineup, I mean, a lot of it's to be expected. The only one that I was kind of surprised at was Buonanotte actually coming into the team. I thought he would be benched. I thought there'd be El Kanous, could be an option, but yeah. Apart from that, it's not too surprising. The only one is probably Buonanotte, probably a Coley. But again, if he's choosing a Coley, he's pretty much, since he's come into the team, he's kept his position. And again, that brings us on to the Yannick Vestergaard conversation.
We'll come to that near the end of the show. Just want to read out some comments because I want to get interacting with the fans. And like I say, I mean, given that they've come in to listen to us talk after watching that shower of shit, you're the real MVPs, if you ask me, even better than Danny Ward. Sean James, don't know if you heard about this, Neil, but there was a pitch invader that came down in the second half and had a go at Steve Cooper, and he had to be restrained by the fan. And a lot of people are saying, you know, he was man of the match. Chester's gone agreed, Sean, it woke everyone up. Again from Chester, I began cheering Walsall. We were that poor, felt they deserved the win, and they didn't even need to do that much. Says it all, really. I'd agree. I think they made the much better chance. They think we had a shot on target till like the 60th minute. Um, Embarrassing, no quality, getting worse. Changes too late. We'll definitely come to that, and didn't make sense. Tito Blue, the pitch invader was Lux. I could definitely believe it, but as far as I know, he's not gone to prison yet. But I'll ask him later. Notice he's not on this show, is all I would say. But you know what? Let's just talk about this. So you said that the lineup wasn't too bad, and I suppose given that we're playing a team that's so many positions below us in the league table, or you know, the pyramid, that you could say that. But actually, I would disagree with that slightly, because I think the problem is, and this was like my worry even just looking at a lineup like this, is where is the creativity? Really, I would go as far as saying you've got one truly creative player there in Buonanotte, which I think is no doubt why a few people have put here that, you know, Buonanotte was wasteful in the first half, but I realized he had more desire than everyone else on the pitch. But it's like, who's there to connect the dots? So the way that we play today is, I thought if we would play like this and you've got Ricardo in the team, when we played Tranmere, what happened is Ricardo really pushed up to join the attack, and he's got quality when he gets up there. But he wasn't. He was staying back, and it was Luke Thomas that was pushing up. Like, Luke Thomas is all right, but I mean, he's, like I say, he's not a particularly good. I mean, if you think Victor Christensen struggles at left back, Luke Thomas even worse, right? And then you've got the Cordova Reed, who gets about a bit, but to be honest, he had a few nice touches. I mean, here's that good thing here. What would you guys have done differently? Couldn't watch the game, but 0-0 Walsall, whilst Enzo goes and gets 5 on the same night, is a bit of a gut punch. I mean, to be fair, I would say that unfortunately, some areas of this did remind me. I even messaged Neil during the game of some of Enzo's worst games where we sort of struggled to put anything on target either. But what I would say there is at least we had more control. So actually, what I feel, lots of problems here structurally. But firstly, I think Hamza and Samari together, I think this was a mistake. I think you needed to have either Skip or Winks, or maybe even drop El Canoes into one of these positions. Because basically, these guys, they can win the ball back and go side to side, but they're not going to be progressing. None of them are really doing what Ndidi does, which is push up forwards to at least try and cause some chaos there. So really, you just had sort of two people not doing much. So that's problem number one. Then Bobby de Cordova Reed, he runs about a bit, but it's not really sort of game of energy. You need someone who's either going to commit a man or make a pass, i.e. Mavididi. So he's not really going to offer you too much. For Tau, I think he had a pretty poor game, if I'm being honest, but at least he can run at you. So really, you're relying on Buonanotte. And I feel that, like, in that first half, basically, he was the only one that was trying to do anything, and he struggled, and maybe he was even trying too hard. So, you know, so that's why I'm saying, I think if you were going to go for this setup, I think you needed to have at least one more creative player, or if you were going to do this, have Ricardo push up and tell Fatawu to drift in a little bit. Right, even though I know he likes to hug the touchline, but it's not such a bad opposition. Otherwise, I feel that, like, you're not going to get this. That's purely from the structure. What do you think about that? And then I'm going to go through the players, because I think it's time to do that already.
Yeah, it's worth doing that. I think I was with you. As soon as we started pushing Ricardo forward, you started getting the best out for Tower as well. Them two work quite well. And I think about 70 minutes, we started to see that. And Ricardo started to push more, which I think, again, it's. Do you think it was positionally aware? I think that potentially CP was that, look, you stay back, you hold that fullback position. He wasn't being told to run forward and get the most out of him, which is frustrating, because the only player that if it was a player you want to do that, it's probably James Justin, who wants to stay back and hold that position.
Yes.
And Ricardo could provide that attacking creative outlet, and he's got the option of drifting on the inside, going on the outlet. He can be involved in the, like, alongside as a front as a midfield three as well. And it's not like we are in a good position where, oh yeah, everything's going well, so we'll try something. I'm agreeing with you, Luke Thomas. For me, I feel sorry for the kid, but he just looks spent. It looks like he's like 32 years old at times. Like, he doesn't really looks like he's coming towards the end of his career, not just starting it. So I'm quite disappointed with him. Reed, I think, isn't well. I'm going to go through one player at a time, but yeah, overall, I think that you're right. The tactics didn't work, and I think in terms of some of the specific players that we've got there, Reed was all right going forward, but it was better in the defensive position. And then him, I think, and Thomas as a two kind of clashed too much, in my opinion. They didn't really. They were better defensively, but offensively didn't really give too much.
See, that for me is Cooper in a nutshell, to be honest with you. I mean, just want to bring up V1, good comment here. Not too disappointed with Sumari's performance. We were just too slow moving the ball. I mean, that's kind of, yeah. And this actually, I feel this is from Chester Leicester. I feel for the players today. They looked lost, played like a pub team. And I think this for me is the issue, right? I actually don't think individually players had particularly awful games. Thomas, I think, was poor. I would actually, for Tau, to be fair, in the last 20 minutes, he actually started looking quite good.
Yeah.
But I think the issue is it just didn't look like the players understood what they were trying to do or how they would even go about scoring a goal. Sean James, if the report about the players not liking the player style is true, sack Cooper tonight. I mean, I don't know about necessarily that, but again, good comment from V1. I'd like to see Cooper's 3-4-3. We were clearly struggling with that midfield balance. I mean, that's what I mean. So you've just mentioned it there, Neil, that like with these two, neither one of them is really that sort of player that's going to make something happen here. You know, you're not telling Ricardo to push up. Who's going here? I mean, someone here's just mentioned, you know, I'd like to have seen Alves play, or, you know, why not start McAteer if you don't want to play Mavadidi? Fair enough. Or wouldn't Alves be better in the centre than Samare? And, you know, look, he would normally go for the double pivot, but you could say in the game that we know and look at the stats, I think you could confidently say before the match started that we're probably going to have over 65% possession, right? So point is why not put another attacking player on there? Why go? The thing is, as we know, is that Steve Cooper, he loves jobbers. That's what I would call them. Players that work hard, put in a lot of effort, but don't necessarily have that quality. I think it said it all for me that we were trying to win the game, and who's the first sub that he made? It was Jordan Ayew. Right? Nothing against Jordan. I'm going to keep saying that. Got respect for him. But if you want to win a game and you want a goal threat, that's not the guy that you put on. You need to have your flair player, even someone that's willing to take a risk, and he's not going to do that. So, yeah,
And
let's go through the players now. But I think just in general, so I'm saying I feel even just starting with that lineup, you're already in trouble.
I'm with you. And I think what the frustrating thing is, you look at that bench and there is flair. About half the player is that flair player position. So you mentioned about, you look at again, obviously Justin, maybe not fast, not as much, but you've got Golding, El Canoes, McAteer, Alves. Four of those would have a real impact on the game. And you're right, putting El Canoes would give some flair from the number 8 position in that. And well, we'll probably come on to that in a bit, but the substitutions when they could have been made were made too late as well.
I mean, he made them with 10 minutes. He made Ayew before that, but I mean, that's outrageous. But all right, let's go through the players. Yeah, I mean, this is the worry that truly Ethan's put it. Did you see Potter interested if the Everton job comes available? That's my point, is you have to act sooner sometimes. But fair play. We'll start with probably the man of the match for obvious reasons. And fair play to him. He is the Carabao Cup legend. How many penalties has he saved now? But Danny Ward, he can't do it in the Premier League. But I tell you what, when he's at League 2 level, he is friggin'... Who is that Russian goalie that they named the award after for goalkeepers? You know, unbelievable brick wall, not just at the penalties, but he made an amazing save in the first half as well. What did you make of Danny Ward?
But it's almost like playing the year 7s, playing the year 11s, going, do you know what? This guy looks really good, considering he's playing somebody that's like half his age. When in the game, again, when he was called upon, he delivered. You talking about that? I thought at 16 minutes when that ball went across, there was 2 players free. I went, that's going in. The shot was good, but it was a better save by Danny Ward. So again, give him that. I think it was the best move of the game so far at that period in time. But
Lev Yashin Award, thank you, Ant. Always he's like the research guy in the back, always giving me the facts. Lev Yashin Award. But sorry to cut you off, Neil. Yeah, I mean, he was really good, right?
He was. Overall in the game, he didn't have too much to do, but when he was called upon, he delivered, especially in the penalties. And for me, that's what you kind of need as a keeper, especially a second keeper that's not going to get enough time. Let's be honest, I think keeping performance throughout since the beginning of the season has been pretty high.
Yeah. Okay, let's bring up Brookline's got some really good comments here. I'm going to come to both of them. First one, 3 players made the other look poor: Cody, De Cordova, and Eduard. So let's go to, we talked a bit about, have I got Connor Cody here? No, I don't. All right, tell me about Connor Cody. What did you make of his performance?
I didn't notice him.
I didn't see some of the clunking tackles he made towards the end. He did give the ball away a lot.
Yeah, and you're right. He did give the ball away, but he just seems like the Connor Cody that I've seen do brilliantly. I don't know. Maybe it's just the message isn't transferring across. I don't know if it's his first time playing with Caleb Okoli this season, but the first, I didn't really notice him too much. And when I did, yeah, he didn't make the greatest impression. So,
See, Brookline here's got some really good comments, which I agree with. Right, so firstly, he's saying free Vestergaard, we need more control out of the back. So I think that's the worry for me with Connor Cody is I think he's too rash. He gets like and I'm not just talking about the penalty he gave away against Palace. He was doing it today as well. Like I feel like he's one of those that like he's got main character syndrome. Like he needs to do something to make sure that like he's in the game sort of thing. So he'll just go in for like an aggressive challenge when it's not needed and give away a dangerous free kick. And I don't think he's good at building it out from the back. I think even though he had a bit of a questionable game at times, I thought Caleb Okoli was much better at building. Right, I think we definitely lacked fast today, for example. And the other thing that Brookline said, and this kind of is like related to the Cordo Reed, is that Cooper brings the wingers too far inside compared to Enzo. Because with Enzo, those wingers, what they did is they hugged the touchline. There was paint on their boots. And so what we would do in a game like this, because to be fair, this could have been a bit like an Enzo game. But what would happen is he'd have all that possession, but he'd shift all of the players to one side, except you'd have either Mavadidi or Fatal out on the wing. And then someone will play the switch ball over to them. So then their team's got to run all the way across to try and get that winger. And then we go back to the other one. And it's like, if you do that for 60 or 70 minutes, eventually the other team gets so knackered that you'll break them down eventually. So that was his system. But because he brings them narrow, right, we can't really do that. And that was kind of an issue there, I think.
It gets in the way of the 10 as well.
Yeah.
The few
I mean, for
times
example, yeah. So like a few comments here. Yeah, sorry, Neil, go.
Because they were drifting over, sometimes D. Cordova Reed was in the position of Buonanotte. They were kind of getting each other's way.
Yeah, well, that is another thing that you really starting to notice it more and more with Cooper's system compared to Maresca. So the players do that a lot, and therefore it breaks down the attacks before they started. Just coming to my Cody comments. Cody doesn't have the ability to pass, what some people say. Cody was just okay, not terribly poor, but shouldn't be anywhere near our first team. I suppose to be fair, this wasn't our first team. But, I mean, well, let's talk about Vestergaard because we've just said that, like, to be fair, some people have said that Coley can't pass as well. I think he's better, but it's not his strength, I would say. And it's why Wolves and Everton moved on from him. That I do agree. So, yeah, I mean, the elephant in the room is that Yannick Vestergaard, for the last 2 match days, not only has he not been in the team, he hasn't even been in a match day squad. And Cooper has not said that he's injured. Right, and I don't know if you've seen, but there is a report that came out earlier today saying that Steve Cooper faces player mutiny, and there are players inside the dressing room that do not believe in his tactics and think he's not a particularly good manager. And it's funny how someone who we know is a bit vocal like that, maybe he's got a bit of arrogance about him, a bit of a tall guy, has not been featuring in the squad at all. So am I bringing too much into it, or do you think there's something there? Because you would think, given that Okoli played at the weekend, that you would make and sub both players.
Yeah, and you would think that considering Okoli has played every game since he started in the team, this will be an opportunity to rest him, just like he's done with Winks, etc., and other players. I'm with it. I'm with him. I understand where that's coming from, but yeah, I mean, with the report coming out like that, you can kind of understand it, but so close in such a small period of time, for me, that's concerning. And if this keeps continuing, you're going to see more and more players kind of come down the pecking order. I think I won't say Ricardo is one of them, but there's got to be a reason why he's not featuring as well. Because
according to Chester, Ricardo Pereira definitely plotting a riot in the changing rooms. I could believe that.
That maybe, I'm not saying he's on the same level, but that could explain why Ricardo has been dropped as well. Not to the level of Vestergaard, where he's out of the squad, but to come in that position, and he's coming into the team, and he's not getting into the first team, where he's considering that's a position that we could really strengthen in with the likes of James Justin. That might be another player. But again, the longer this goes on, the best thing we could do is win games to get this over with. But if we don't, this is just going to keep lingering on and on and on and on. So I kind of believe that, but we genuinely don't know.
You say that, Neil, but sometimes the way to get rid of the problem is to throw games. Sad to see it. I mean, V1 here, you can see it in the players' demeanor, not just even in the game, just frustration and lack of heart. When we do have passion, it comes from inspiration from actions within the game or the crowd. That's exactly what I agree with. And Brookline's got some great comments there, I've got to say. So this is something I agree with. He goes, Okoli and Fass are good, but they're wild men. Everything is fast, fast, fast. Vestergaard manages the tempo. Back three of the Great Dane, but never happened with Cooper. And I do agree, especially in a game like today, what Vestergaard was great at is he would slow down the game sometimes or speed it up. And he understood, like, you know, basically help build the attack, which meant that you were more threatening going forwards. And he often put some really good balls going forwards or even made great runs. So I think that's right. Some other interesting things, you know, Vesti and Cooper have definitely fallen out. I think Vards will have a word soon with Top, and the end will be soon for Cooper. I do suspect that. I just think, again, I think the player demeanor, I've said it over and over again, you can just see that there's few people that I think genuinely look like they're playing for this manager. The announcer said Chowdhury went straight to the tunnel. Was he pissed off? I thought he was making himself available all over the field. Don't know, Neil, you're Hamza Chowdhury's agent. Can you confirm or deny how Hamza feels about the situation?
No, I'll answer the question. I personally, I didn't really see that much, but I just think that in this system and what he's good at isn't working for this team. I don't think, to be honest, I think he was the weakest player in the team last year, and I think that's only going to continue if he keeps playing. So, yeah, I don't really know that much about him. But yeah, I've told him he has the right to remain silent, and anything that he can do can hurt his can be used in court against him, and he will be benched and dropped just like Vestergaard. That's why he went straight down the tunnel.
Sean says, does not that sound like the same complaints we had about Brendan Rodgers? Fallouts of personnel, no tactics, and absolutely zero planning against opposition. I agree with you, Sean, but I mean, I'm convinced, I'm sure it will come out at some point, that Brendan, he basically wanted the sack. So in the summer, after we finished 9th place, it was like, okay, we need to rebuild the team. You need to fund me again and bring in like 5-6 players, get rid of 5 or 6 and start over, which, to be fair, was correct. Right. But the board said we can't do that because I guess they weren't honest with the PSR issues. So we're not doing it. So then Brendan is like, well, what am I doing wasting my time with Leicester? With Leicester, I can't win anything. It's not going to be good for my own ego. So I want out. And therefore, I feel that he deliberately did things. The big one was clearly throwing some players under the bus, picking Amate over Soyuncu, which was crazy. So I guess the difference I'm saying to you, Sean, is that I think you're right. But the difference is that Brendan showed that he did have some capability of coaching. And I think the fact that he's gone back to Celtic and won stuff proves that. Versus Steve Cooper, my worry is he doesn't have any plan. You know, here's a good thing from Tyler. He goes, when Enzo made weird decisions, I felt like I could always say, I don't agree, but I get why. But when Cooper does weird decisions, I can't say I can see the why. I would agree with that because, for example, say at the start of the season, Casey McAteer was coming into the team. And I was like, well, why are we putting Casey McAteer into the team? Why don't you put like Albrighton or something like that? But you could understand the way that he was playing, what he was bringing to the team, right? Or Vestergaard, thinking, why are you bringing Vestergaard in? He's so slow at the back. And like, oh, okay, there you go. Love this here. Cooper maintains his excellent record of not winning on the road. Cooper masterclass, clean sheet, 3 goals. What more can you ask for? There we go. All right, let's talk about Edouard, who started the game. What did you make of him?
Yeah, that was disappointing. I think there's quite a few teams that was the player, but his first touch was heavy. I think there was a good spell. I think there was about 24 minutes in, we started to get possession together, started to play some nice stuff in the final third. And I was like, okay, again, having the ball around that, kind of threatening the area, kind of moving the ball. And then who was it? I think it was Buonanotte that had a touch. And Edouard just skies it over the bar, like unnecessarily. And I just thought that kind of summed up his game, kind of hanging around, didn't offer too much. Sometimes his first touch wasn't good enough. But yeah, I wasn't really impressed with it. I wasn't, his movement was kind of there, but I didn't really see him really get stuck in. Or like, you know, with the Iheanacho, the reason why I'm comparing them to, sometimes their first touch was poor. You could see
it's the first touch, isn't it? That's why everyone compares him to Iheanacho.
Yeah, and there was some other bits where Iheanacho would come and track back and foul or something. I didn't really see the same Edouard do exactly the same.
I think it's a really fair comment. Edouard killed so many attacks, giving him benefit of the doubt because maybe he doesn't have rhythm connections yet, but he wasn't impressing me. And Tyler, Odson, buddy, that performance, what in the hell was that? I think, to be fair, you've got a player here who's clearly low on confidence. He's just lost his place in the Palace team, kind of been told he's not wanted, and he played like a player like that. I do totally agree with you, though. The thing I would say, like, actually, on the weekend, someone said Edouard reminds me of a faster Iheanacho. But he meant it in a negative way, not in a good way. And I think the difference is that Iheanacho also often had that donkey touch, but he wasn't always a donkey touch. He did actually sometimes do the sublime. And the frustration with Iheanacho was like, if you could put all those good parts together, you'd actually have a really good player, but it was too inconsistent. Whereas Edouard, you can tell that he can hit it hard, but what else does he do? And that is a bit of a worry. I think a bigger issue is, though, in certainly the way that we play, is that this player is required to like link up the attack a bit. And that's why so many of the attacks were kind of being deleted. It's like, that's something that Vardy's really added to his game in the last few years as he's lost his pace, as he's proven that he can help build the attack and link it and play an unselfish ball in. Whereas the problem is if you play it into someone whose first touch is poor and he means he can't play the pass or hold it or it bounces off him, the attack is broken down. And comment here from Brookline, Cooper needs to study how Edouard receives the ball. We have no clue. Kind of agree. Sean James, I'll give Edouard benefit of the doubt. He was out of favour with Palace, so it's probably the only player the board could get because they ball too much at the deadline. I think all those are fair, and it's just a body. And like probably when Daka comes in, although when Daka do much better, it'd probably be there. But I think it's fair to say he did not impress. He wasn't provided that much service, but I don't think you could say he wasn't provided any service. And I think it is true that when he tried to link, he was poor. And that is a worry given that we're playing a team in League Two. And that also, there we go.
Does he fit the system as well? Because it seems like he wants to drift in, play that false nine, and bring other people into the team. Now, with a 4-2-3-1, it's not like we had Deagle over Reed, and maybe Fatal can play that. I don't think... Again, like Iheanacho, could he play better with a two up top?
Yes, you see, that's interesting. That's where I think he would be good, actually. I even thought that at the weekend as well. I could understand why they did take Vardy off, but maybe you could say if you're really going for the winner, because Palace did it to us, right? They put Nketiah started as a 10 and they pushed him to a 9, and then they did it. And there we go. Here we go. Daka would have done better with this game. That's probably how I feel.
Yeah.
All right, I tell you what, let's talk about someone who I think was a bit hit and miss, but I actually think overall he was quite good, and that's Facundo Buonanotte. What did you make of him? And I'll ask the same to chat as well, but you tell me, Neil, what did you make of Facundo?
I thought he was, again, he was hot and cold. He came into the game. Yeah, of course. We've got Zhao Locks. He came hot and cold into the game. I think that there was time, but the thing is, he gave a go. He was always trying something. He was always trying to create something. And then when he lost the ball, he was always there trying to win it back in good positions. So I can't fault his effort. But again, maybe he's just a victim of another victim of the system where at least when he was trying. But again, at times it looks like Deacle Reed was running into the same position. He was trying things and he was I think his heat map, I'll try and look at it in a second, was quite good. He was running quite a lot of the pitch. But yeah, you're right. Consider of all the players, I think he had the better of games. That wasn't really saying much.
Is Locks messaging from the police station after his pitch invasion? I'll find out in a moment. So yeah, do you know what? I want to come back again to the position. So I agree with everything you said. Again, I don't really agree with this rating. What I think the issue is here, again, is the system, right? So you're right. He was the one player that was trying to make things happen. I don't think he did make things happen, but he tried to. He even had that like nice stooping header. Like V1, again, great take it. Only player to show heart the whole game. Was clearly trying to make something happen, chasing lost causes, but the system doesn't help him. He plays like he can't trust his teammates with the ball. And that is exactly what I agree. Like, so he gets the ball here, and who's he going to play the 1-2 with? Who's running past him to support him? Nobody. As I said, these two are basically sitting. Samari did push up at times, but not enough to really make like the third man running behind. The Cordova Reed's just huffing and puffing. Someone put like a really good comment saying, has he made a successful pass even this season? Here we go. Have you seen the Cordova Reed make one successful touch or pass the entire season? I have, but would it be a forward pass? Not entirely sure. Then we got Randy here saying exactly the same thing. Samari Thomas is like some kind of sick joke now. So again, you just really haven't got enough creativity. Whereas imagine an alternative world, Neil, where instead of the Cordova Reed here, you've got El Canoes playing alongside him next to him, or you've got Skip behind him to play a bit more progressive passing or wings. Or, and this is my issue as well, even though this team is in League Two, when we attack in this system, we only attack with 4 men forward. That is the phrase that you're going to get sick and tired of me saying. Under Enzo, we attacked with 5. When we attack with Cooper, we have 4. Maths, not my best subject, but last time I checked, 5 is more than 4, which means you're probably more likely to score if you've got 5 men forwards rather than 4. And even worse, if some of those 4 players are Bobby de Cordova-Reid or Luke Thomas, it's again going to kind of stifle your attack. And that's where it's all going wrong. We need to be a bit more aggressive. And, you know, the difference is rather than having 2 fullbacks, one of them is a winger. So if you have Mavadidi and Fatawa, you've got 2 players you can stretch play. If that was Casey McAteer, even though he's not so good at beating 1-for-1, again, with the pace and to get in behind, it's there you go. I mean, some good comments here from Locks behind the jail cell. Every game Facundo has started, he's been the best player on the pitch. That means Cooper will drop him versus Arsenal. I'm scared that you might be right there. Sean, Buonanotte would work in an Enzo style system. This isn't a system. This is chaos. Well, what do you make of that comment before I keep going?
It's a Frankenstein system with Frankenstein players. We're trying to find them in different positions, but they keep naturally wandering into different positions. Now, I'm not saying it needs to be perfect first time round, but I need to be able to see something that, like, okay, I can see what he's doing. You know what we've seen towards the end of the Villa game? Right, we are trying something. We are trying to give it a go, and it was too little, too late. And the worst thing is, we've seen it work. You look at the Everton game, when we started to go for it, we started to push Diddy up into that position, the team started to gel a little bit more. My thing is, and I think that's it on my channel before, if you want to learn these lessons, you've got to go and provide updates. You've got to build on what you've done before. And it just seems very stagnant from where we were at the beginning of the season. I'd actually argue that the game we had against the second half against Tottenham, have we really advanced it that much since then? Yes, only a short period of time, but I just don't see where it's going.
Yeah. From Tyler, isn't Bobby Reid usually a right winger? He has yet to regularly play there outside of 10 minutes versus Villa. So this is an interesting one, and it's another one about systems. So the thing is that we've said that Bobby de Cordova-Reid has looked like a poor signing so far, which I would agree. But is it a case of when he was playing under Fulham and Marco Silva, who played really well against us, you've got to say, that he was being coached in a much better system that created chances with the triangles that they create and the overloads? Because what he's really doing here is, so when we have this system today, he was actually playing as a 10 and Luke Thomas was trying to support past him. So he's actually playing as a number 10, which he says is one of his best positions, but I don't think it is. And it's like, even is that a 10? It's more like an 8 position, like a box crasher, which doesn't seem to suit him either. So again, I think it's just a case of a poor system that doesn't suit our players. And this is someone who supposedly watched every single one of our championship games last season. I cannot believe that for a second.
I can't believe
because if you've seen that and you think that is how we played, I mean, you're just objectively wrong. And just quickly, I'll let you. I apologize. I keep cutting you off today, Neil. Do you know why? It's because I'm angry. Randy, I hope you guys are sending your tactical analysis videos to the inbox of Cooper. I think I need to send them to Rudkin because he's the one that's probably going to make the decision on top. But yeah, sorry, I cut you off there. So what would you like to say?
He's going straight to the do not disturb bin junk file, whatever it is. But I think with it, I've completely forgotten that he said that. That he looked at all the games last season and that's what you produce. Maybe not this formation, but just in general, because these are simple things that the fans are going, well, why is that happening? Why is that happening? And the manager, we'll get on to a second, but the manager's been so slow to react to other things as well. It's not, again, that's riled me up as well, because I forgot that he said that and thought, great. That's why I think we all got Steve Cooper at the beginning as well, because we did so much of which way is that? Oh my God.
Well, this is interesting. So thank you for pointing this out, Sean. And this is something that maybe I should start adding to the analysis. So I've seen an average formation and it looks like a pizza-sized forms on one side of the pitch. I think he's probably, talking about this side. But what I will say is that this does highlight a lot of the problems, right? So you just mentioned to me, Neil, several times today, players getting in each other's way. So there you've got Hamza, Simare, and Edouard, and they're all standing in the same spot, which is the centre pitch. for at least to be fair, I mean that's probably the Cordova Reed 14s. At least they're doing. And again, given this is League Two opposition, if Thomas really is supposed to be joining the attack, he needs to be as high as Fatau. I think to
He's
be
further
fair to
forward
Christensen,
than he's further
yeah.
forward than Ricardo, who's the better attacking player.
Well, that is obviously how the system goes. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's like that actually looks more spaced out than I mean they're defending than this. So that's really, really poor. And here we go. Some more comments I agree with. 2 CDMs against a League Two side, no disrespect, but bonkers. Ricardo playing safe was a sad sight to see. I really agree with that. Let's bring him up now, in fact.
But even with
yeah,
that, even the average formation, it's like somebody's got a formation and just smushed it downwards.
yeah.
So you've seen all the players playing like a flat line almost. So you've got like a formation, and you feel like somebody's, when they have them out on the tactical board, and he's just gone and done this and pushed them all to the back, aka like defensively. And it's such a shame because we've seen against Aston Villa when the players came on, I could understand what he was doing. I was proud of the fact that we were going for the win towards the end of the game, and it's just like he just backpedaled on that.
I mean, I was going to say, I agree with this. Ricardo really did frustrated like this. He knows he's attacking, he can contribute to the attack, but he's been told to stay put. And he doesn't want to do that. It's not his game. He got a perfect opposition to go forwards with. Then we've got here, Fulham creates triangles, Cooper create lines. You could even argue that Cooper creates spots because they're all standing on the same spot. But I agree with what you're saying there. Prisoner cell block H, AK locks. Cooper can't play the Enzo system because inverted wingbacks would blow his mind. Cooper tried to invert Ricardo. He'd probably end up with a brain aneurysm, perhaps. Sloppy and slow. Yeah, I think that's unfamiliarity with the system. It didn't impress me how slowly we moved it, which was really poor. I mean, basically, we had a lot of possession, but how much of that was just Cody to Okoli over and over? We leave so many gaps available to the opposition. God, it's a fun time tonight, isn't it, to be constructing this game? We even won it, to believe it or not, crazy enough. So right about watching our games. He can't have the agree of it there. Bowen Fox, welcome to the chat. Nice to have you here. Cooper's probably told to lie to the fans, so they didn't say anything from his appointment. Perhaps definitely agree with some of that. And the technical abilities of Ricardo far exceed the creative imagination of the manager. Cooper has no idea what a player Ricardo is. Yeah, I mean, that again baffles me. Is he's not looked at him in training and did it, And Tyler, I wonder if we'd better if Cooper restarted all the tactics instead of trying to imitate Enzo ball. This certainly isn't how his Forest team played either. Do you know what? This is a really, really good point, actually. Because, yeah, sometimes you've got to admit, do you know what, Anil? Maybe you've experienced this, maybe you haven't, but it's called Anil's cooking. So what Anil's cooking is it'll open up a book and it'll go, oh, Gordon Ramsay, here's how to make one of his dishes. I'll start making it and it'll taste terrible. And it's like sometimes you think, do you know what? Instead of trying to replicate that dish, why don't you come up with something yourself? It won't be as good as that, but it'll certainly be better than the pile of shit that you've just served up. And you could do that. And so, yeah, maybe instead of trying to do this 3-2-5 shape that he just doesn't understand, why don't we just go back to something just regulation? And not be obsessed with doing that, because this is just not working. That's a fact.
Keep it simple, and with that, with the tactics, I don't think he's trying it in do Enzo ball, because what does Enzo ball is good at? Possession, but he's got technical players. Now, if you look at who he's recruited and who he's brought into the team, they aren't technical. He's keeping
not
out
IU or Reed, definitely not
them two. Let's be honest, at this moment in time, has Edouard showed that much technicality?
No.
Hamza Chowdhury is a technical player? No. Samore is, but again, we didn't see anything today. Ricardo is that. He's the technical player. And what does he do? Tends to stay back.
Oh, that's so depressing when you say that. And if you think about it again, if you look at this lineup, so you'd say Edouard, not technical. The Cordova Reed, not technical. Luke Thomas, not technical. Hamza Chowdhury, not technical. There's already half the team already. Samare, don't know.
But
yeah,
he can be, but he's not.
Yeah, and as you say, out of this entire bunch, the most technical player is Ricardo, who's told to stick back, but we'll give you the captain's armband. So, we could do that. Let's get some other comments up, some really good ones. Cooper has said that Vestergaard is injured. Interesting. That's one way to say had a fist fight with you and is sticking out. We'll see that. Bourbon Fox, I've seen enough. We're salvageable at the moment. We need to get rid of this loser before he joins the whole squad. I mean, I've said that rather than saying Cooper in or Cooper out, I'm saying if you wanted to get yourself sacked, this is the way I'd go about doing it. Great work, lads. Loving the analysis. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Chester, IU and JJ have Cooper nudes. Free Ricardo. I mean, there's got to be something on it. I mean, I want to say, I don't think JJ's actually. He looks lost himself. And I said this to Locks, actually. We did a stream earlier today where JJ made some interesting comments. And I think it's one of those where, put it this way, Neil, me and you are playing in the first 11, but there's this guy called Leo Messi on the bench. And even though we're really glad to be playing football, secretly, we know that we should be the ones coming off the bench if Leo Messi gets injured and not the other way around. And, you know, you don't know how to feel about it.
Yeah, it's just that I'm coming back to that because I looking at it and looking at what they were saying, I'll get the if you I could bring the comment up because I've just went and found it on BBC. Is that Justin was talking about the Everton game and he said we weren't really at it. Everybody, everyone, nobody in particular. I feel like we weren't ready to give a fight, and they were going to give us, and we got hurt early on. We did what we did to get back in the game, but a bit naive from us, to be honest. I mean, somebody's saying that like 6 games in, and I like Justin because he is a little bit. He will, even when it wasn't working to Endo, he just used to say it how it was, which I really appreciate. But if he's saying that at this moment in time, it's not specifically saying we don't believe in the manager, but it's kind of implying that we don't know what we're doing.
Well, I think that's clear to anyone. Some really good comments here again. That's our biggest problem. That's the thing you mentioned previously with the technique. That's our biggest problem going forward. Some unlucky bastard is going to come in and replace Coop and be stuck with IU and De Cordova-Reid and not understand what he's trying to do. He's never actually tried to imitate Enzo Ball. He's trying to imitate Brendan Ball. Yeah, maybe because Brendan would play like the higher press, but Brendan was still braver and doing some things like the way he try and get Yuri Tillemans and James Maddison to have like more of the ball. So, you know, look, I'm not Brendan's biggest fan either, but I'm just
more Puel than Brendan.
Even Claude Puel would make mincemeat out of Cooper, though. I mean, I agree because let's be honest with you, there were games under Claude Puel that watching paint dry was more entertaining. But the thing is that under Claude Puel, it was still clear what the system was, right? And he still had like the wide forwards. There was a season where Claude Puel got 12 goals and 10 assists out of Riyad Mahrez. So it's not like he was clueless. His biggest problem actually was similar. What a few people have said is he again loved his double pivot of Ndidi and Mendy, and he didn't want another one of them to push and go forwards. It was too conservative. I'd take Puel over Cooper all day long. Be careful what you wish for. I never thought I'd miss Puel. Those were the times. I don't want to go too far forward. I'm just saying I do think Puel is the better coach, but I'm certainly not trying to say that he's the answer because I don't want to know what the question is there. I think this is better though. There's no identity at all. That I think is big. I mean, there is an identity. It's just not working. It's just not working at all.
Then it's not an identity. Then if it's not working. Do you know what I mean? If you have a business plan that's not been implemented correctly, you don't have a business plan.
Yeah. That's you know what, Neil, you've actually shut me up. That is anyone can remember that. That's a great comment to kind of say there. Jack, Arsenal have a field day on Saturday. They'll probably score 5, 6, or 7. We'll see. I mean, Wolfie from Forest Fan TV was on Lox's channel and he basically said Cooper loves playing against the Big Six cartel because his really boring, pragmatic football will actually look good there because he will probably play 5 at the back. He'll probably only have 2 attacking players. Like I'll tell you right now, I think he'll play Vardy and Mavadidi as the attacking players and everyone else will be defensive. Jordan Ayew will look elite if he's in the team. He'll have probably Skip Ndidi and Winks, but Ndidi won't even push forward. I reckon he'll keep Cody in the team and he'll have Fast, Cody and Coley all together. And the fullbacks, and it'll be grim. But to be fair, like even Puel did that and managed to beat Man City one sake. But I don't think it's going to work too well.
I don't know if he'll play 5 at the back. I think he might stick to 4. I think it might be a 4-5-1 instead, with the 3 midfield you mentioned. Mavididi on one side, Jordan Ayew, where you got your 4, and then you've got your back 4 of Fast, Cody, Justin, and Christensen.
That is possible. You could be right of that. But if it's what I said it is, don't be surprised what I'm saying. I'm calling it now. Chester, we do have an identity. It's just a shit one. Now that, in my opinion, I agree with. That's what I would say. I think if you're objective, there is a way we play. It just is here's the problem. I think we look worse than last season, even though we're Premier League. Not a good call.
Easy.
Ray, silver lining, the wheels have so completely fallen off that we can sack him earlier and have a chance to save the league season. I mean, here's the thing, and because the problem is, I think we have been bad, but we're still not in the bottom three, and we are still through to the cup. And so what I'm saying is, and this is what you used to do, the whole business thing, is it's one of those where I think a neutral can look at it and say, this team is not very good, and this team is going to be in trouble. And if you look at the underlying data, this team could well go down. But because that's not the reality of the situation, you know, you wouldn't pull the plug. And you know what I mean? That's a problem. And then just, to call out Locks here. Everyone, please hit the like button and subscribe. And please subscribe to Neil's channel as well, Beyond the 90, the legend himself. What I'm saying is that, like, I don't know, like, people made this comment, and it's fair enough, is that Vichai was, I think, a lot more ruthless, right, in understanding how a business would perform. And, like, fair play to him. When Ranieri was in charge, I'm not sure if we were in the bottom three or not, but because we'd lost like 5 or 6 in a row, he could smell the dressing room atmosphere, and he was like, I need to make a change. Even though this will hurt me, if I don't make the change, we're going to go down, right? But does Top or Rudkin, are they too much Mr. Nice Guy? Or will they? Because ultimately, why did Brendan go? I think Brendan went because the fans pushed him. I don't think.
No, I think he went. I think he went personally because he's like, I can't do this. I don't want this relegation on my record. These lot are going down. I don't want this. So look,
it came from him. You're saying,
instead of, and if you look where he was actually made, he was actually, we've got rid of Brendan Rodgers. If you look at the statement that was put out, it says mutual consent. Now, they would have been very careful about the wording of that. I think he's gone, look, give me 7 million or whatever it is. I'll take the severance package. I won't take the full lot. But if you give me that, I'll go. And you can deal with this instead of paying me the full amount that you owe me to finish off my contract. So that's honestly, that's what I think. And again, he was held on for too long. Partly people go, well, yes, that was a financial, and that is an aspect. This is, for me, this is the test of Top. What more do you need to see? Or how bad does it need to get in order for you to make some changes? Because again, you're right. And Vichai did things that at the time I absolutely disagreed with. When I was so upset when Ranieri was let go of. And it was and during that, I think I mentioned this on Luke's channel, it was Vichai the one said, no, we're gonna have to do this, but because we're gonna have to stay safe and stay in the Premier League, even though we have to cut off somebody that literally like our own granddad. We were so upset as Leicester fans, but in the scheme of things, looking back at it, he was right. He was the right thing to do.
I don't know about you, but that was one of those where I thought this guy's a top owner. And I'm not talking about Top, about Vichai, because there's like very few people would be able to take the emotion out of it. And then you saw under Shakespeare, didn't we win 5 games in a row or something like that and got to the quarterfinals of the Champions League? And then he got rid of Shakespeare as well, by the way. So he just was brutal when he used to be. I'm just going to go through a few comments here, some good ones. Joe Smith, sacking Cooper affect the next PSR cycle, or can we defer Compo for 3 years? That's an interesting one. Look, we don't know what his contract is. If they were smart, the contract would have had exit clauses in it because they must have known that this is possible. Who knows, though? Don't seem to have the smartest people in charge these days. Paul Stevenson, Cooper needs to change tactics or have an open meeting with the players to sort the problems out soon. If nothing changes, he's headed for the exit door soon. I agree. Like I say, I think this is like a car crash in slow motion. Everyone can see what's going to happen. It's got manager sacks after 10 games written all over it. And then the problem is if we go down, everyone will be like, if you acted sooner, we would have got out of it. Big issue. Zaid, I think Top on the board learned from a mistake of Rodgers, so they won't be so patient with Cooper. God, I hope you're right. We don't know if that's true or not, though.
Time will tell. And that's the truth with this. Time will tell, and that shows us where this club is going. And I don't mean to say that again, to kind of follow what and you were saying. This is where the test is, because we can see it happening. We can see the things playing out in real time. It's what do we do from here?
Yeah. Too nice? That is the question. I hope they learn the lesson of waiting too long to sack. Cheers, Brendan. Bourbon Forks, we just went an entire half of football against the 4th tier side without a single shot on target. All facts. What does it take for Top to wake up? Another racist orgy. If one of you guys could use AI to make it look like Cooper and who's your worst player that you don't like, I was going to say IU, but I actually don't think IU's the problem. I think he at least tries hard. Get that into Top's mailbox, could maybe get it out there. Question for the lads. If we sack Cooper in late October, would you go for Moyes for the experience or Corberan for the future? I mean, I think that's an easy one for me to answer, but how would you answer that, Neil?
I don't think we're getting Corberan. I'd love him. I
Yeah.
think he would stick around. I'd see, well, why would I leave that team and come to Leicester at this moment in time? Corberan
But
will
Neil,
make
stop
good,
being
I
a
think.
politician. You didn't actually answer the question. The question was, would you go for Moyes
No.
for the
I'd
experience
go
or
for
Corberan?
Corberan, but then
Yeah.
fuck it, I'll go for a Pep Guardiola by that
Yeah.
aim. Do you know what I mean? But I think Moyes is the pragmatic option that would keep you in the league for this season.
Yeah.
Corberan would be one for the future, but I don't think he's going to come.
Okay, I'm going to bring up someone who I'm going to refer to as the prophet, which is Wolfie from Forest Fan TV. I feel for you guys, but I did warn you. And I've got to say, to give him his dues, at the start of the season, Wolfie put essentially the 10 commandments in the Bible, but in football form. And he said he's going to fall out with players. He's got a loving for the IUs for some weird reason. He always put defensive players on instead of trying to get the basically every single thing he said has come true, which is terrifying. It actually reminds me of Brendan Rodgers because the Celtic fans said the same thing. They were like, he's going to bring Congerton in. Congerton's going to sign you some dud players. The first season and a half is going to be amazing. Then it's going to get salty, and all that came true as well. And you think lightning can't strike twice, but it did.
I would have a mate saying exactly the same thing the year after we won the FA Cup. Going, it's going to go wrong next season, and I was like, no, it's different this season. Rodgers has learned his lessons, etc., and it all just went tits up that season. Well, not that season, but we finished 9th or 8th, and then the Eds which went really far down the hill. He was like, third season's intro and Rodgers, it's not happening. Just get rid of him. And I went, oh my god.
Question for Wolfie, actually, if he's in the chat. So obviously you guys have switched to Nuno, and I'm guessing you feel quite vindicated with that decision. But Nuno was also known as being quite a defensive manager, but you've already won more away games with him than under Steve Cooper. So I'd love to know, in your perspective, maybe 3 bullet points. Like, what are the things that he's done that's different that have led to you having such a big improvement? Because I would have to say that I think Forest have been the surprise package of the Premier League so far. And I hate saying that, but you've got to give respect where it's due. And hopefully while he answers that, so let's bring up some of these other ones. Zaid, Carlos Corberan won't leave West Brom while he's top of the Championship, I think. I would suspect you're right, but at the same time, West Brom without investment, they're never going to match what Leicester has. And the thing is that like,
just got new owners, no?
And they do, but I mean, you're not going to make the training academy or new stadium. Like, put it this way, Neil. Even if Leicester get relegated, which of these two teams is more likely to win a major trophy in the next 10 years? Leicester City Football Club or West Brom?
No, you're right. You're right. Do we need to go out and do a Brighton where we just scout somebody that's like completely left field?
Yeah, they could be expensive, but I wouldn't be against it. I mean, there are some good managers that are available. I'll say that. I'll come to those in a minute. We're going to need another Vardy team talk to get us going, probably right now.
I have Steve Cooper's post-match reflections if you want them.
Oh, please share it with me and I'll bring it up onto the other side.
Yeah. I'll bring that up. I don't know if you want to get going through the comments, and I'll bring these up in time.
Locks, breaking news, Steve Cooper and Samare caught on tape in racist orgy. If you can get Mid-Journey to make that would be brilliant. Okay, so you've got the... I'll tell you what, you let her read them. You can do your Steve Cooper impression.
I'm not doing a Steve Cooper impression. I'm just depressed. We made, again, hard work of it than we hoped and should have done more tonight. I mean... Anil, we've been here, we've heard that, but it's what action are you going to take from it, surely?
Yeah. So anything else he's got to say?
Was there a next one? Can I go to this one? No. Oh, there's a next one here. Shootout was great. Credit to Wardy. I thought it said Vardy then for a second. I can't read as well. Coming off the back of an average at best performance, that was below average. Come on. They're at the cutting edge on the end of the pitch. But again, do you think he's like almost passing the buck at this point?
No, to be fair, that's not as delusional as other people that I've said. Like, you know, that is saying that like we didn't really look like scoring and we should have won a different way. But at the end of the day, the thing is that like admitting that you fucked up doesn't change the fact that you fucked up is the problem. Wolfie, thanks for answering. I'm going to bring some of the stuff that he's just said here. Mate, Nuno looks like the most attacking manager in history, comparison to Cooper, which is a worry given how much of a counter he likes to play. And there's 3 points he said. 1, he played the right players in the team. Everyone's saying that's not correct with Leicester, which is true. He played players in their correct capital letters position. Again, what's the issue with Leicester? You've got Ricardo playing as a right-sided centre-back. You've got Fatau coming on the left-hand side. You've got Bobby de Cordova-Reid playing as some weird 10-8 hybrid when he's a right winger. And his third thing is that Nuno's not Cooper. Can I also dispel a myth for you? Cooper does not bring youth players. He didn't bring a single one through in the Premier League. That's another thing that people have said, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, because that's
Thank
something
you,
that
Walker,
I think I mentioned to you, the fact that he was developing youth. We mentioned this, but he hasn't, and he's brought in experience, which is fine. But what's he done with what was he done with the likes of Michael Golding and the players he hasn't sent out on loan? Which again is probably a better move for them to go out on loan. Alves was another player we thought would get some minutes today. Golding didn't get any minutes as well. So yeah. Again, I think that's a really good point, because something that we talked about, again, developing young talent, and the talent that we did have have all been sent out on loan. The talent that we do have that is young hasn't been featured.
Yeah, definitely. I think my mic is quite loud. A lot of people have said that. I'll try and be a little bit less excitable, but I can't help it.
Adjust it afterwards as well, if you like.
Yeah. Thank you. Chester has said Samari would be too lazy for that locks to have the racist orgy, so can probably get that. Joe Smith, I'm an entitled City fan, having grown up under Bloomfield and Wallace. I expect good or at least fast football. It was very slow and pedantic today, wasn't it? What are the tactics? What is our system? I see no fucking patterns. It's utter shit. I can't even suffer from head loss at this point. He needs to go. We'll have to see another one of his lineups again. Cooper would turn up to a racist orgy fully clothed and refuse to take his kegs off. Very safety first. I worried if a Manson...
He'd wear a boiler suit and be extra safe.
Yeah. How did Cooper get a tune out of Jed Spence? Our fullbacks have been pathetic. Well, to be fair, I mean, I can remember that match. You're talking about the Forest one where they battered us in the cup. And I think the one thing that Cooper does do, which works, is that he does go for those physical players that are willing to win the duels. And that's something that they basically bullied us in that match. And they got on Daniel Amarty's case, and they just made it like, it was like a championship match. I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, you can win that way. There's nothing wrong with winning it in a kind of ugly way. But it's just how it kind of is. I feel so bad for him. He looked too nice on the interview today, not going to lie. Lots of things there. I mean, look, we've gone on for almost an hour. We've got 76 people watching, which is incredible given how poor that performance was. So I think we'll kind of summarize it. I mean, yeah, look, that was awful. It was a terrible game, really, to watch. Barely created any chances. Never really looked like scoring. Substitutes again were late. The first sub he made was Ayew again. Why? When you're trying to win the game, awful. Brings our start attacking signing that we've made in the summer, Bilal El Khanous, on at 80 minutes. Go to a penalty. I mean, do you know what was scary is that Walsall made subs and they looked the team more likely to win it. Who in chat would agree with me when I say we looked like we were hanging on at the end?
Yeah, no, I was. They ended the game stronger with opportunities that were. I was thinking exactly the same thing. Because I was thinking, because they had a little bit of a wave and we got the majority of the possession, and then we started to build into the game. But all of a sudden, a few direct passes broke through us, and we didn't really know how to answer that.
Yeah, interesting question here from Wolfie. What percentage of the fan base is for or against him? It's always the case with Leicester. There's the people that go to the stadiums in the ground at home, and then there's the online community. And I feel like the online community, they're really anti-Cooper. I'd feel it's like 70-30 already out, I would say. I think people in the stadium, it's much closer to 50-50 because people are like, you need to give him a chance and you need to... Really think so?
It's 70% still not in, but let's see what he can do. He's not been that bad.
There's the Facebook community and a Twitter community. I would agree, but you know what I mean. There's an age difference. I think there's things that because to be fair, right? What I think the thing is that like there are people who have been used to Leicester basically being a team that sucks for a large part of their life, and then there's a part of the fan base who've grown up with us winning the title, getting into Europe, winning the FA Cup, and that's the kind of difference. Me, I'm more in the middle. Like, I remember the Martin O'Neill era, we were great. Then it was like, okay, we're never going to see the Premier League again. Then we got back there and expectations were absolutely blown apart by King Power. And now we're basically regressing more to the mean of being this sort of Premier League team that's like, well, we're not quite as good as the O'Neill team even. We're not even mid-table, which is kind of where we are. So I think that's where you get like slight difference. But look, I'll tell you what, because I'm gonna head off in a moment. I'm gonna be on the Foxes Den tomorrow with Locks at 7 p.m. Please join us then. But Neil,
Oh, as I say,
you could wrap that up for me in a minute. What are your closing thoughts there?
Just like our tactics, very safe, not really achieving anything. Lukewarm porridge would be in terms of you have food wise. Is it going to give you substance? Yes. Is it going to be very tasty? No. But some people remember the days of, well, we didn't even have porridge back in the day. Be grateful we're not in League One anymore.
Yeah, I would be this, and I would say I'm just going to try and be objective here and say objectively, the stats show that we've been the worst team in every game that we've played so far. We can't. Creativity is a big problem in every single game. Our XG is awful. It's barely got above 1, so that's not sustainable. It will catch up to you, and when it does, it's going to end badly because we're conceding. Oh, to be fair, we didn't concede today, but it was more through luck, through judgment, because Walsall lack quality up front. And we're going to be in trouble. And so, yeah, this manager is getting himself sacked. I think the way that it's going, it's a matter of time. I don't see him lasting past Christmas. And I think the problem is how much damage will he cause in the meantime. And if it continues, we'll be in trouble. And, you know, this is going to sound crazy.
Yeah. This is a judgment of character.
Yeah. I was going to say that I could even see something like, I don't know, you scam a draw or even a win against Arsenal, and that keeps him in the job, but it's actually a bad thing. But I would never want our team to lose. Want us to do well. So look, thank you everyone. It's sometimes bad that like we all come together when things are bad. And I think for everyone, I think this is how I would do the closing thoughts. The reason why people are so frustrated and angry is because after an exciting season last season, we came back into the Premier League with renewed vigor, thinking that we could make a mark and get back to the Leicester of old. But we had the PSR penalty hanging over our heads, and that was really depressing. Our manager leaves. Like him or not, he went and he had played some good football with us. And then our best player and an academy graduate had to leave. Really depressing. But then, out of nowhere, PSR, we beat it. And all of a sudden, you're thinking, hang on a minute, we could be back. We might actually have a chance to do this. We were starting to get amongst things. Vardy's back, scoring goals. But now, with this manager, again, you can see where it's going. That's the problem. You don't need to be a fortune teller to see where this is going. Anyway, with that, guys, we'll leave you to it. Hey, heads up, we've only got to play Arsenal next week, so it should be an easy game there. Thank you very much. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you around for the next video. Neil, thank you so much, the legend from Beyond the 90. Take care, everyone. Thank you, chat, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
So everyone, see you in a bit.